Hello, welcome to Building a Business podcast. Building a Business is brought to you by Virtual Palace Marketing, rehumanizing your business. This week, we are back with Athletes for Athletes and Raymond. Hello, Raymond. How are you doing?
Hi. Good.
I think this is
Sorry
the third
for
month we're
yeah,
back with you, right?
we were having trouble in trying to sync our availability. So sorry, we've been a little bit caught up.
No problem. Busy is good. That means a lot of things are going well. A lot of things are doing good for your site, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. I heard that I've been seeing that you guys have been doing some improvements in your bubble sport complex.
Yes. So lately, what we have been doing is to help most of our venue partners, including Bubble Sports Complex, in their setup. Because I think before the quarter started, actually, most of the sports complexes have been really flooded with a lot of people trying to get their spots and play. And that's when it's a good time for AFA to actually do like the stress testing and stuff like that on our system. And also like because lately we have just launched our auto lighting system, right? So yeah, the auto lighting system have been something that we are trying to solidify and to understand like when it comes to like high traffic hour, what is the how well does it cope with the
Mm,
stress? Yeah.
okay. Would you like to explain and see what is this auto lighting system about?
Yes. So auto lighting system have been a big piece of puzzle that AFA is trying to put or incorporate into our system. So what it does is basically it is an IoT system that it basically helps the sports complexes in automating the light control because most of the sports complexes, let's say if you have a badminton courts, right, you might have like 50 to 30 courts, and all of these 30 courts might have different timing of when customer books. For instance, they might book like 5:30. Court one might book 5:30 to 6:30, and the other court might have like a 6 to 8 p.m. Right? So different timings. So a lot of times, if you're using a manual method, you might have to turn on and off the lights based on the different timing. And imagine you are doing it like for 15 different courts of 30 different courts. So the auto lighting system basically helps operator to automate the light switches to turn on and off. On the other hand, one thing very interesting that we are doing is also to empower the users to turn on and off the lights on their own. So what happens here is like imagine you are a user that you book with AFA app. So we have self-activation features that if a sports complex is subscribed to our auto lighting system, there is a QR code that is attached to every single court, and then users can actually just use their app to just activate the lights by scanning the QR code that is attached to the court, and the lights will turn on to the duration of their booking. Yeah,
Mm,
and
okay.
one thing a little bit funny that we try to incorporate also is the Malaysian timing style. Maybe Malaysian
Never
like
on
sometimes
time, right?
exactly right because if the auto lighting runs on automatic, right? So there's a high chances that if you come late, you will probably have a shorter playing time, right? So what we do is like we incorporate a little bit of this AI where it identifies what time you come, and then we'll turn on the lights based on the duration, right? Subject if there's no booking behind. Let's say if you are late for 15 minutes, the light will turn off 15 minutes later if there's no booking behind you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the first, like your IoT will be like if there is no booking after this booking, they will
Mm-mm.
follow the full duration. But if there is, then they will cut short and they will cut you short lah. Of course,
Yeah.
since you're late, you don't get to play
Correct,
the full
correct,
hour anyway,
correct,
right? So
correct. Yep.
all right. So long time ago, when I used to book badminton courts, we used to
Yeah.
have this habit of like splitting the time. We always
Yeah.
ask the guy to off on just to split the time so we know how to bill our friends.
Ah.
Is this something that still is being used?
Most of the time right now, it's getting trickier in that sense where most of the courts, they don't care if you are late or not, right? Because it will complicate the booking timing. Because right now, especially more and more people, we do see a spike where more and more people are picking up badminton, futsal, or any other commercialized over commercialized sports. So uh, it comes to a time where we realize that there's a huge uh, need in terms of synchronizing the way like customers are served, or else it will it will complicate a lot of things and make it very tough for operators to operate. Yeah, so
Mm.
in that sense, we do see like people are trying to standardize, and that's where we come in to support them in setting up a standard in terms of like how you can serve your customer better and also set an industry norm. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And with the auto lighting system, it kind of aligns with your overall goal for your business, right? Which is to
Yeah.
reduce the number of actual manpower required to operate a
Mm-mm.
sports complex.
Exactly.
In your perspective, let's say the the ultimate goal,
Mm.
how many people do you think at the end of the day ultimately will be required to run a sports complex, given that your app has already reached its maximum capacity and you have already
Mm-mm.
reached where you want to be?
Mm-mm. Ultimately, I think in the perfect world that AFA is trying to create in terms of the industry, um, we are aiming for, of course, zero manpower in terms of like when it comes to serving, like taking in bookings and dealing with customers' general inquiries. We are looking at like potentially up to like zero manpower if possible. It's like imagine yourself going into a dealing with a vending machine.
Mm,
You just pay and you get to play. But the a little complexity comes in where, because customers tends to book in advance, right? So
mm,
which the even before customers step their foot into the sports complex, most likely they already make a booking reservation.
yeah,
So we try to automate the entire process in that sense. But we also understand like when it comes to technical difficulties, like you will still need someone to run the wiring if there's any like technical difficulties here and there. So I do foresee like probably you will still need one or two people on standby, especially when it comes to like high traffic timing, because we cannot afford to have like technical errors when it comes to peak hour, especially after working hour, where
yeah,
usually the sports complexes are fully booked. Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. And at one or two people per sports complex, we are looking at a reduction of 90%, 95% of the manpower.
Mm, generally, most sports complexes might have about four people to five people. So I
Okay.
think probably around 50 to
Okay.
70% of reduction. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
And more sports complex owners are seeing this as a good opportunity, right? Like instead of having uh, these manpower and managing the HR and managing
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
the head count, they can just use
Yeah.
machines to do half of it, and then these guys will just do the other half.
Yeah. Ideally, for a business point of view, it is better that way, because you don't have to deal with staffing and like I mentioned, HR, and most importantly the integrity, because
Mm,
at the current time most of Malaysian sports complexes still relying on like cash based transactions. By introducing our system, we are actually slowly replacing the ideology that, oh, you come in, you have to pay by cash,
mm,
by switching it to you pay while you make the booking reservation, and when you show up you just need to play, right?
mm,
So in that way we are able to reduce the complexity or the staff integrity, as
mm.
well as in a way the venue will be a little bit more safer by reducing the reliance of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I have been speaking to quite a bit of business owners, and they say
Mm-mm.
that there is a silver lining or a blessing in disguise that came
Mm-mm.
from this COVID pandemic in the past
Mm-mm.
year. And part of it is the push towards digitization and cashless and things like that. Do you see the same thing happening in your industry?
Yeah, I do see a shift in the dynamic of how most of the sports complexes work, because previously a lot of our customers like to make court reservation and then show up, and then only they pay to play, right? Because of the pandemic, there's a need to pre-register yourself, and that's where we do see a shift in that sense where you can no longer book verbally and then just show up, and then if you don't show up, it's a loss for the operators, right? So it's a blessing in disguise for businesses in that sense where your payment are secured. In that sense, you get to receive payment first, and customers, in a way, they understand the shift and they know that it's necessary. And that would say, because technically as a startup, AFA actually started during the pandemic time as well. We are a very young company. We are about 7 months old, which is COVID have been around for more than a year now.
Way longer, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we do see a blessing in disguise in that sense. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So yeah, so we get that out of the way, and let's catch up on what's been going on the past month.
Okay. So what we have been doing for this past few weeks time, we were focusing a lot on growing through the right kind of partnership with the right people. So as you know, as you may have known, if the listeners actually listen to the earlier episodes, we are in the midst of working with government, Sports Institute of Malaysia. And what we have been doing is to finalize and solidify the existing partnership with the government while establishing newer ones with the private entities to help us in growing our business. Because I do think like a startup have to work with the right kind of support. We know a lot of startup. Most people know the statistics, right? Generally, a lot of startups will fail along the way. Starting is easy, but sustaining up to 5 years is tough. So I think as a young startups like us, we really need that kind of support, and that have been the kind of the focus that for the past few weeks we have been looking back into all of these partnerships and trying to establish and solidifying the deals. So that has been what we have been doing so far.
Okay. The partnership with the government, I think last month you talked about the one key item which was lacking, which was the swimming pool booking, because the timing that it's set of how swimming pool works is not exactly the same as how basketball courts and everything work, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Have you found a fix for that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that it is something that we should solve for the time being. And then our team decided to take a step back and to relook into this into a further down pipeline, to push it as a further down pipeline, and it won't be the area that we are trying to we will try to focus on at the moment. And in fact, right now, we have been trying to focus a lot on repositioning ourselves in a way to work towards the idea of trying to build at least a little bit of our business model, at least at the current time, to be self-sustaining in that sense. So I've been looking a lot into alternatives of how we can create more income for the company, because all this while we have been focusing on growing the business and not focusing so much on the financial aspect, because we were relying on a grant to run it. So right now, as we speak to more potential investors, we're looking for another series. Well, we are prepping ourselves for a next series of fundraising. So at this point of time, as we spoke to a lot of different investors, they have been asking us this question: like, we understand your strategy right now to grow your user base, to grow your vendor base, but what are your steps or repercussions that you plan to take in making your company sustainable, or what is your future plan in creating a sustainable business model for yourself? So that have been something that we were required, at least what we think it is about time for us to look into how we can generate a sustainable income for our company. So we are looking into alternatives like transaction fees. What is the right amount to charge to the right kind? Do we charge the vendors? Do we charge the users? Because as a platform provider, how do we survive? And we have to juggle between, like, we still need to grow while trying to implement a certain fees that might pull us back. It's like you walk like 5 feet forward and you have to take two steps back.
Yeah.
This kind of approach, right? But at
Yeah.
least we're still 3 steps ahead every time when we move. So yeah, this
Mm.
kind of things we have been
Okay.
juggling.
Okay. Well, it's funny how, because I have been meaning to ask
Mm-mm,
you on the update on the financial standing
mm-mm,
of AFA, and
yeah,
then the topic just came up, and
yeah,
that let's put the pin on that first. I want to
mm-mm,
go back to the swimming pool one. You did say
mm-mm,
that you were going to drop that for a while.
yeah.
Um, does that break your deal with the government, or is there other things that you can put in as well?
One thing good is we're fortunate enough that the government understands where we are coming from,
Mm.
and right now I think the focus that we want them to understand as well is that the sports industry is really really big, and individual sports can have their own special startups and services actually catering to that when it comes to booking even. That's why we do see like when before we start, we do see around us there are startups that is catering to a specific sports booking. So we know like
Mm.
the industry is
Okay.
actually there. But our approach is trying to cover a sports venue as a whole rather than
Mm.
focusing on
Yeah.
specific sports. And that is where the real challenge comes in, right? Because our system have
Mm.
to be able and capable in serving different types of sports
Mm.
owners and sports operators, and also because different types of sports have different way to book.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Well, like getting the government deal to work is one of the way you create a more positive cash flow, right? So
Mm-mm,
there are two parts to go at this now. The first one, which you have gone to, which is the private sectors,
mm-mm,
which you started off as from, and
right.
then which I believe that you are still pushing forward for.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
And now the second one is the possibility of getting into the, what is this called, municipal councils, sports complexes,
yep.
which will also add to the cash flow as well.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Uh, so apart from funding, I believe that these are the two other methods that you believe you are pushing forward to increase the cash flow of your company. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm, mm,
Mm-mm,
okay, okay. Um, Fundraising is a very tricky thing, right? Because
mm-mm,
you raise the fund, but it's like you're building deck of a house of cards, and you need to be able to use the house of cards, the parts that, the deck of cards that they give you in order to build a proper foundation,
yeah.
uh, before it starts to crumble on the sides and everything. So it does
Mm-mm,
still feel a little bit unstable on the
mm-mm,
ground end.
mm-mm,
Compared to where you were now, let's say in the beginning, 7 months ago, or maybe on your first round,
mm-mm.
up till now, are you further along with building the foundation of your business? Or does it
Yes.
still feel like does it still feel like what is this, like you're still falling down from a plane and you're still trying to build another plane?
we 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 find out that yeah, there are a lot of structure have been built on top of where we are right now, and we do see like we actually have been keeping ourselves versatile in a sense to move our company towards where the opportunity opens, right? And along the way, what we have been what we are able to identify is like at first we thought ourselves as a tech company.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, mm-mm, yeah,
Sorry, could you elaborate? Pack
yeah,
meaning?
yeah. So we thought ourselves as a technology company.
Tech company. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, tech company, and with like the whole idea of us, what we are doing is basically to introduce the technology that we have to
Mm-hmm.
the industry that we're trying to serve. And along
Mm,
the way, we realized like we've identified or we further redefine what AFA's true value is. And
mm-hmm.
technology is basically just a method that AFA choose as a solution to the industry's problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And technology is not exactly what we are giving to the customer. It is more than that. We are giving the support. We are helping them in giving them a new way to solve a problem that have been around for a while, right? So and then like technology is just a method that we have to introduce to the industry on how we can solve your problem and make your entire operation more efficient. Yeah. So that's where we do see we stand. And right now we are focusing on the value that we are giving to the customers rather than just selling them the tech that we have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It really
And
changes the message a lot. That's what we notice.
and it also changes your offerings, right? Like if it does not fall within the confines of your portfolio, let's say you don't have a set of services that can solve this problem, instead of saying, oh, sorry, we don't do that, you go find someone else. Instead of doing that, you go back and you go back to your team and you say, okay, we have a bunch of people with these problems, let's come up with a solution for that and then provide it to them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
Okay. And so is this how you mean by being more versatile?
Yes, definitely. We always tell ourselves, right, in our team, like just to remain versatile and see what's coming ahead, and then we try to change and adapt and to go back to the drawing board every time when we met this kind of uh obstacles, right? And then yeah, of course, like it is easier to say it and done where if whenever we have a new request, we'll just go back and try to work with our technical team and come up with a solution and then to serve a specific market. It's all about the real challenge is like juggling between what the industry majority of the industry needs and a specific request for a specific deals that we're trying to serve. So that's where we find the challenges, and we are also at the same time fear that, oh, if we don't solve this problem, does it mean we are losing this customer,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that as a startup we don't have a solid product, but it's where we stand and how we choose to educate, or even like how we choose to build our offering and the services to the vendors. I feel that is more important. And yeah, sometimes we do feel a little bit confused in that sense. We
Yeah.
are uncertain about like what we want and how we want to position. But as time goes, we found out like, yeah, if we focus on just the product or the technology itself, uh, it doesn't really define who we are. What then we back to the core and we ask ourselves, what are we trying to offer to the industry? It's basically a solution and a support, and technology is just a method, and that will help us digest even better when it comes to like problems like this.
Okay. From my perspective, this is just my perspective, right?
Mm-mm.
I think you hit the nail on the head with looking at this from a value perspective rather than a product perspective
Mm-mm.
towards your customers. But the downside of this one is you start to spread out too horizontally. Too many things. You're building too many variations of something in order to solve your customers' problems. So then it comes back to this question of your MVP,
Mm-mm.
right? At this age, you are barely a year old, and at this
Mm-mm.
point, you should still be building on your MVP first.
Mm-mm.
And it does seem like what you said, it does seem that you are treading too far away from your MVP in order to
Mm-mm.
be more holistic,
Mm-mm.
which is good, but maybe somewhere down the road it makes sense, because at the
Mm-mm.
very beginning, even a social enterprise needs to first be able to provide social gains to itself first. Like you need to be able
Mm-mm.
to feed yourself first before you go. So I think this comes into
Mm-mm.
question. Like
Mm-mm.
you may, well, I don't really know what's the spread
Mm-mm.
that you're looking at right now. What kind of
Mm-mm.
what's that called? Uh, uh, Secondary and tertiary kind of products and services that you're providing. But it
Mm-mm.
does seem as if that you're spreading yourself too thin, especially for such a young
Mm-mm.
company.
Mm-mm. That I do agree. So it's like we were in a time where we need to pivot and really figure it out, like where and what do we want to focus on at the moment, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you find your answer to this, because I know a lot of companies who
Mm-mm.
spread out too thin. I think you should have a sense of awareness. I mean, you
Mm-mm.
shouldn't not spread out. Like,
Mm-mm.
you shouldn't not try out new things. But
Mm-mm.
I think that you need to have the sense of awareness. Are we going too far out? or are we still within the realms of what we are supposed to do? Then we are fine. Then it comes to the next question, right? Because this is the problem that haunts every single business owner, every entrepreneur, and every innovator goes through this dilemma: to pivot or to persevere, right? So you say that you are a very versatile team, which means that you see where the opportunities are and you're able to fluidly change the way you work things and the way things operate in order to cater to customers. What is your process with deciding whether you want to pivot on an idea or a product or a solution, or to persevere and get them to fit into your mold?
Uh, if I were to put it into our current business context, at first we are looking into the possibilities of our current MVP on serving what kind of sports. We know we cannot serve all, right? But we were trying to expand and find fit to as many different sports as possible. So that's where we were trying really hard during the first few months, talking to different operators and introduce our system and see if the way they work can or cannot use our system. So at that point of time, when we see there's a certain sports that is very interesting and very appealing to us that we try to tackle on, we'll try to somehow tweak a little bit in terms of how our system works in order to for our system to be able to serve this community of people. And as we go until like where we are today, we started to feel like there are certain sports that will pick up faster than those that which we find it tougher to serve, right? So that's when we feel like, okay, there are certain sports that we have to admit to ourselves that we cannot serve, and at least for the time being. And do we give up now, and focus on those that is proven work, or do we try to amend our system to serve this specific group of people? And then when it comes to the sustainability of our business, like what you mentioned, many startups fall into the trap where they spread themselves too thin, right? So that's where we realize like maybe it is about time where we try to refocus and serve the group that at least we have a proven track record that it works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like as you go along, you realize the thing is, when businesses start off, we always try to be everything to everyone. Like, we always think that, okay, we can solve everybody's problems. Then along the way, you realize, you know what? If we try to solve everybody's problems, we are solving nobody's problems, right?
Yeah.
So let's find a niche, be good at it. And then when the time comes, when we are able to tackle those other harder to tackle areas, if we are in a good financial standing, we can do well, then we push towards those kind of stuff. But at the moment, the key point is what you said, to be able to build a strong financial standing for yourself first. So you don't have to always rely on money injection and things like that. So that even when you go for funding, the VCs will come to you and say, okay, I can see that you can sustain on your own. This is how it is. It makes sense. There is foundation on what you're building. Then they're more willing to give you money for it.
Yep. That's what we're seeing as well.
Yeah.
As we speak to those investors.
I am hoping this happens to you, because I think it is a natural growth of what it is, and I personally feel some of these experiences before as well, and it's nice to see the path that you're going is right. So the last bit of it, just want to catch up. How has the mental health of the team been?
It's doing great. We're trying different things, and we're trying to change a lot of ways where we initially started and how we work right now. So this kind of little changes actually brings back certain level of excitement to the team. So I'm pretty happy where we are right now in terms of the team's mental health. Yeah.
Do you want to share some of them? Like what have you guys been doing, and that has been reinvigorating their excitement to the team and the job?
So we try to, for instance, when it comes to a certain, we try to break down, right, how our team department works, because right now our team is small. We have operation, we have marketing, business development, and customer relationship management. So it's pretty, and of course myself, which I'm not sure what exactly I'm doing most of the time. But if you were to look into like all of this, the four main things, right, that the company operation stands on. So we try to build a way where there's a synergy or a kind of a core relationship between each different departments, and we try to break it down and come up with like a synergy on how these teams are able to integrate, and we send them out uh, as a team, right? Let's say we put in like marketing and business development out to meet a certain venue clients that we are serving, and then we do see some pretty good chemistry over there. And sometimes we try to swap it out around, and maybe we just bring a marketing team and a CRM to go in and talk to the certain vendors to understand how these vendors works, and what is the struggle. And we do see like very interesting insights. Because maybe previously business development is the one that have been talking to the client, but when a marketing person goes in and listen to the conversation, and he might find a new insights of like how how these people thinks, right? And we know like from his perspective, this is how marketing can work from the way I understand how this department works in a real client base, right? So it is very interesting in that sense to see this kind of a new finding or new interpretation of how our customers work. Yeah,
Yep.
from the different team that by just repositioning them and make them go and talk to these people, they have their own interpretation, and
Yes.
that brings them a new kind of energy, and a new kind of a new form of a solution to this kind of issues. Yeah.
Yes. I have to say, I totally agree with how you're doing this, because this is how I'm exactly doing this with my team as well.
Mm,
So instead of me having a bunch of marketing people and a bunch of designers all in their own separate teams,
mm, mm,
I
mm,
put a unit, one
mm,
from each department representing
mm,
in one unit. So when they go and talk to their clients, right, they have the
mm,
perspective from all different parts of it. The designer has designer's perspective, the marketer has a marketer's perspective, the copywriter has a copywriter's perspective.
mm, mm.
Then it creates a more holistic angle at
Yeah.
being able to support the customer, rather than marketing just can only do the marketing stuff. The operation people can only just do their own stuff. And when a client asks a question, they will be like, I don't know, let me ask them and then come back to you.
uh,
It's not good way to solve a problem. So if you have a unit that is comprised of different departments in one single unit, the way they talk to each other, they're able to help each other's weaknesses, build. Yes, you did say you did talk about your role in the business.
mm, mm,
The fact that you don't know what your specific role is
mm, mm,
means you are exactly where you are supposed to be. You're not supposed to be focusing on something. You're supposed to be the person at it's like the person in the submarine with
mm,
the scope, looking at what's going on in a whole 360 degrees and telling people what to do and how to steer them,
mm,
steer the whole submarine to the direction that they should be going. So, because if you get bogged down with a certain job, right, you
yeah.
lose perspective of what's going on. It has
Mm,
happened to me
mm,
before many times,
mm, mm, mm,
and I find that sometimes being able to have the free time and the freedom to move around departments at my own free will helps me help them a lot
mm,
better.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
and you need to keep that. Don't fix a role to yourself. You need to keep that. That helps the company move a lot better.
Good to know about that.
Yeah. I, I understand,
Mm,
because sometimes you will feel as if like, oh, everybody's so busy doing stuff, and I'm like, I don't know where I belong. I don't know what am I supposed to do at this point. But what you're supposed to do is this: give an external person's perspective, give a bird's eye view,
mm, mm.
and that helps a lot, man. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mm.
thanks so much. Thank you so much, Raymond, for joining us.
Thank you for having
I
me.
know, yeah, that we have postponed quite a bit, but no problem. I'm always very, very happy to catch up with you because I'm so excited to always listen to what you have to say and what kind of updates you have for us. So before you go, tell our listeners where they can find out about you and your products and how to buy from you.
Ah, okay. So for those who are interested to find out more, you can always visit to our website, www.athleteforathletes.com, or you can always log on to our Facebook page or Instagram at AFA or Athletes for Athletes. You can find us either way. Yep. So you can always and also, yeah, please download our app and find out more if you are from Klang Valley. So we have quite a number of venues for you to look for. Yep. You can always just go on to your app store or Play Store, except for Huawei, unfortunately.
Yeah, for
But
now,
yeah,
I hope.
yeah. So you can
Yep.
just download EFA app. Yep.
All right, superb. That's all, folks. That's all for this week's episode of Building a Business Podcast. Next week, we will catch up again with Diana from Swag Sarang Holidays, providing a wow factor and honest and halal travel solution. She has been working on some Ramadan specials. We want to catch up with her to see what's been going and how she prepare for her Hari Raya season. That's all for this week's Building a Business Podcast. Our podcast is available on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and Spotify. We post full videos on YouTube and clips on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much, Raymond.
Thank you so much, Sean.
We will see you next month. Bye.
Bye.